Hi everyone, this is Dr. Swaminathan SM, Associate Professor EC Department, SNS College of Technology. Now we are going to discuss about the topic called polar plot. So previous class we will discuss the Bode plot in semi-log graph sheet. So in this polar plot, that is also drawn between the magnitude and phase. So here the magnitudes are represented by the normal values only. So the polar form for g of j omega and h of j omega is g of j omega and h of j omega modulus and pi g of j omega and h of j omega. So this is a plot just drawn between the magnitude and phase angle of g of j omega and h of j omega by varying the omega value from 0 to infinite. So here this is drawn separately exclusively for polar graph. So here this is the polar graph, polar plot. So here the polar plot, that is a round symbol, that is the radius angle, and based on the radius angle you can draw the different versions like polar graph. So here the phase angle and the magnitude. So magnitude is the round side and phase angle is the degree. You mentioned 0 degree and 15 degree and 30 degree and 45 degree. So it is increased plus 15 degree it is increased. So up to 345 degree and again 345 degree plus 15, that is 360 degree, called 0 degree. So from 0 degree to 345 degree it is rotated, that is called the radial circle. So this is called the polar graph. So it is drawn in the polar graph sheet. It consists of concentric circle and radial lines. Concentric circles, that is radial lines, represent the same thing, magnitude and phase angle. Concentric circles means that is magnitude, and radial lines, that is called the phase angle. So these angles are represented by the positive values in anti-clockwise direction. Similarly, we can represent the angles with the negative values in the clockwise direction. So clockwise means negative value, anti-clockwise means positive value. Please remember that. And here the alternatively g of j omega can be expressed in the rectangular coordinates as g of j omega is equal to g r of j omega. R denotes the rectangle and j g1 j omega. The polar plot starting the coordinate and ending the coordinate can be easily identified from the knowledge of the type number and the order of the system. So this is called the polar plot. And again the polar plot, which consists the x-axis, y-axis from type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 0. So type 0 first and again 1, 2, 3. And same thing for right hand side, look at this, first order, second order, third order and fourth order. This is called the polar plot. And again the advantages of the polar plot is it depicts the frequency response characteristics of the system over the entire frequency range in single plot. And next, the disadvantage means it is the plot does not clearly indicate the contribution of each individual factor for the loop, that is open loop transfer function OLTF. So these are all the advantages and disadvantages of the polar plot. And here the polar plot, this is drawn by the two different values for the polar plot sheet. And here the value of the polar plot, look at this, the value of the polar plot which is defined, you need to find the same thing for magnitude and as well as phase angle. So magnitude, if you find same thing for the Bode plot and magnitude for phase angle for the Bode plot, and the thing is we just draw the values for the different magnitude values and different phase angles values based on the angular frequency omega, and in the same thing which is uploaded in the polar graph sheet using these radial lines and the normal lines. So here the concentric circles and the radial lines, that is called the important concept just used to mention the magnitude and as well as phase angle. So concentric circle, that is used to define the magnitude, and the phase angle which is used to define the that is radial lines. So another important point need to know, that is the values in the anti-clockwise. So look at this, these are all the anti-clockwise direction, and again these are all the important concept for another side, that is the radial lines and the concentric circle. So anti-clockwise means that is reverse side, from left to right, and the clockwise direction means from right to left side. That is called the important point. So here the same thing for S is equal to j omega, that is also represented, and for the different types of systems, and again the first order and second order and third order systems, and the same thing for the Bode plot and as well as the polar plot. So polar plot, we needed to mention the important concept, the radial lines and the concentric circles. That is important point we need to maintain in the magnitude as well as the phase angle. Thank you. So these are all the important concepts in the polar plot. So the two variations in the animations video, introduction about the polar coordinates and the polar frequency response analysis, for your kind response. Thank you.